We consistently growing up were given these love stories. We were supposed to be a girl that was, 15, 16, 17. And if you're pretty and special enough, you can get that 25 to 30-year-old man to fall for you. Hi, welcome to Gracie Talks. My name is Gracie. We're talking about Vampire Academy today. Dark outside, perfect time to talk about vampires. I would like to do this during the daylight. Unfortunately, I have a 9 to 5. We are going to be discussing the 2014 movie. The movie was based off of a book series written by Richelle Mead. This book series was published in 2007. Quick timeline check for you. Twilight book came out 2005. This book comes out 2007. Twilight movie 2008. Vampire Diaries 2009. 5 years later, 2014. Little late. Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 came out. That was where the attention is. Let's set the scene. What's going on in 2014? The Solange elevator tape gets released. I'd like to thank Beyonce. Kanye and Kim Kardashian get married, and then I'm not going to show you the photo, but you know the one that I'm talking about. Kim Kardashian breaks the internet. Finally, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 goes missing. As far as we know, those events are unrelated. Y'all, they never found that flight. Could I do a deep dive on that? Would people watch? They never found the flight. Diving into the film now. This is a very, very white film. Incredibly white film. Stars Zoey Deutch. I love Zoey Deutch. When I came up and was watching stuff, I swear it was always Zoey Deutch. Whoever was going to be making out with that white boy of the month for a project, for a Hollywood project, it was going to be Zoey Deutch. I love her very much. She vacations with Nina Dobrev and Shaun White. They seem like a blast. Quick note on Zoey. If you were a fan of hers, you already know this information. November 9th, 2017, Ed Sheeran published his music video for Perfect, one of the ultimate love ballads, a song that launched 1,000 first dances at weddings. Zoey Deutch stars in it, plays the love of his life. This YouTube video has 3.8 billion views. Is that registered? 3.8 billion views. It is one of the most viewed videos on the planet. And it was my girl Zoey. That fact has always kind of stuck with me, how massive it was. And then Justin Bieber came out with his ultimate love ballad called Anyone. Came out December 31st, 2020. Zoey Deutch starred in that one as well. When I first saw that thumbnail, I go, okay, this makes sense. If you're a pop star, you've written a love ballad, you want it to be one of the most watched videos on the planet, you grab Zoey Deutch and you make some magic. Guess how many views it got? As of the filming of this video, it only has 120 million views compared to 3.8 billion. I genuinely thought that Ed Sheeran and Justin Bieber were equal levels of famous. Are they not? I don't know, just pop culture lore for you. That was really surprising to me. Comment below if you think that Ed Sheeran or Justin Bieber is more famous. I do think that it probably is Ed Sheeran. I just didn't think that it would be to that level. Justin Bieber tried to follow that Zoey Deutch formula. Didn't work. It's not Zoey's fault. Other notable cast members, Dom Sherwood. Dom Sherwood played Jace in Shadowhunters. I have 2 Mortal Instruments recaps up, long book recaps up on this channel. Go check them out if you want to. I haven't talked about the show Shadowhunters, and that's because y'all aren't ready for it. Because I'm not going to show up with some trash take making fun of it. That show was gold. It was a good show. I loved it. Loved the cast. Have a lot of thoughts on it. At some point, we will talk about Shadowhunters. In fact, Sarah Hyland in this movie, Sarah Hyland and Dom Sherwood used to date, the actual actor and actress. She also showed up in Shadowhunters. They were dating at the time. She's also in this movie. That's just sort of some gossip for you. Finally, the Queen, Miss Claire Foy, was in this film. Hell yeah. Let's celebrate that. Thank you for being here. That actually leads me to my next point. Before I get into the meat of this, every time I do a video, I stand in front of you and I go, we are not here to make fun of people or put people down. I'm going to be making fun of this movie and the characters. I'm going to be doing it in a loving way. Genuinely want to honor and celebrate the fact that people came together to make a movie. They put time and effort into it. At the end of the day, I'm a fully grown adult with a fully developed brain. This movie was not made for me. Now, I consumed it when I was growing up. I consumed it when I was at the age where it was made for me. And that's why we're going to talk about it. But we are not here to watch something that was not made for people with fully developed lobes. I am not selling the tween/teen audience short. It's an objective fact. This movie wasn't made for fully grown adults. It just wasn't. We're not going to bag on it for that, but we will be pointing out the dysfunctional relationships. I obviously will still point out the things that are ridiculous. I mean, you gotta have fun. It is okay to enjoy media, even if you have a very different view of it now than you did when you first watched it. My main angle, what we're gonna do here today, we are going to be going through the dysfunctional relationships. So I'm gonna give you the context that you need to understand these relationships, and then we're going to talk about that, because that's ultimately the stuff that shaped us, and I do wanna talk about the larger implications of it. We're gonna have fun, let's do it. For the purposes of framing this video, we are going to be focused on the movie, but I am going to have to give you all of the relevant book lore for us to have a discussion that we need to have here today. If I get anything wrong, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. There is so much lore here. It's very intricate. It's very complicated. I'm just going to give you the information that you will need to know to understand this video. The main society in this, there's a secret vampire society that lives within our human world. There are 3 groups in the society. You have the Moroi, who are, for all intents and purposes, the actual vampire group. They have fangs, they suck blood. As we've discussed, vampire rules are going to be different in every single genre that you're in, but the vampires that you think of, that's the Moroi. Dhampirs are essentially half Moroi, but they are not actually vampires. They do not have fangs, they do not suck blood, but they do have certain skills and talents that humans do not have. They do have that little bit of oomph in them, right? Because they're half Moroi. They exist to be guardians to the Moroi, to protect vampires. Moroi are not immortal in this world, so you need the Dhampirs to protect them. The third group in the society is going to be the Strigoi, basically evil vampires. But for the bird's eye level that I'm trying to give you that are these groups, you have Moroi, which is the normal vampire society. There are royals and then just normal Moroi within that. We'll talk about that in a second. You have the Dhampir, which is a guardian race, and then you have the Strigoi, which are evil vampires. The books mainly follow our main characters at St. Vladimir's. This is going to be their high school backdrop. The Moroi and the Dhampir study together, and then the Moroi go off to practice their magic while the Dhampir go to practice training. The Moroi powers, there are 4 elements, actually turn out to be 5. It's going to be earth, water, air, fire. Tag yourself in fire, because I'm an Aries. All of the Moroi eventually declare a magic. They pick one that they specialize in. Promise you this information is relevant, except for the fact that I'm an Aries. That was just a fun fact. Everything else, okay, is relevant. Stick with me. Stick with me. Let's talk main characters now. The 2 main characters are going to be Rose and Lissa. Absolute baddies, dynamic duo. I am in love with them. Rose Hathaway, she is 17. Remember that? She's 17. She's a Dhampir. That means that she is a guardian in training because she's 17. When she graduates, turns 18, she wants to become Lissa's official guardian. But at this point, they are best friends, and she is a guardian in training. Lissa Dragomir, excellent last name. She is Moroi. She is a princess, which means that she is one of the 12 royal families. Real quick, the royal and non-royal Moroi. There are 12 royal families. The current queen is Queen Tatiana Ivashkov. Next main character is Dimitri Belikov. He is Lissa's current guardian. He is 24. Am I being subtle enough? Is it going to be a surprise when it happens? Last main character that we're going to talk about right now is going to be Christian Ozera. This is Dom Sherwood. Christian Ozera is also a royal Moroi. The Dragomir and Ozera lines were once great lines, very influential, powerful families. However, both of them are weakened right now. Christian Ozera because his parents are Strigoi, so he's kind of an outcast. Lissa because her entire family was killed in a car accident, so she's the last one remaining. It weakened her politically. Christian Ozera's Strigoi parents, apparently they voluntarily turned. That is the rumor. This is going to be the core 4. We will talk about others as we need to. The movie opens with Rose and Lissa on the run. In the movie, they have been on the run for 1 year. In the books, they have been on the run for 2 years. On the run from the academy, they were compelled into leaving. They don't know why. Something is afoot. They're on the run. Dimitri finds them, brings them back home. Rose is supposed to be an incredible guardian, but Dimitri is a god. People keep calling Dimitri a god the entire time, and then eventually in the big battle that occurs, the one guy says they call him a god, but I'm an atheist with a big gun. And he stands waiting for Dimitri to walk through. That was tough. And then he's waiting for Dimitri to open the door and come through, says the awful line. And then instead of Dimitri coming in, one of the only black women comes in and he shoots her in the chest. Come on. I was actually enraged by that, but then they show her on screen like 2 minutes later and he says, "Are you fine?" She goes, "Yes." So apparently she was wearing a vest. But at the time I was like, ooh, a little tone deaf. I'm still just setting it up. We are so close to talking about the dynamics. Just sort of the setup here. Dimitri grabs them, bring them home. They are now in trouble. Lissa was queen bee. She comes back. She is now a social pariah because she's been away. There was another Moroi student named Mia. Mia is now dating Lissa's flop of a boyfriend, Aaron. Who cares? So now Lissa is befriending Christian Ozera, who is also social pariah. And Rose is intent on getting back to her training so that she can be Lissa's guardian when she graduates. She is training under Dimitri now. We're going to get into it now. We're basically going to go through the core relationships in this movie, starting with Rose and Lissa. We love female friendship. We love a dynamic duo of baddies. We don't love problematic dysfunction in that dynamic duo. Lissa's special, she's not like other girls shtick, is that she's not able to specialize in any one particular magic. Earth, water, air, fire. She can't specialize in any of those. Turns out that she is a spirit user. It's incredibly rare. She's not like other girls. For most of the movie, she's struggling with her magic and she can't figure out why. It's because she's a spirit user. What does this mean? This means that she can heal people. She can bring people back to life. She's very good at compulsion. Spirit users can also create illusions and read minds. Lissa is not fully trained up on all of this. At the beginning, obviously, she doesn't even know what's going on. Because it is so powerful and you can do things like bring people back to life, there is a very real toll that it takes on you, a darkness that can consume you if you are not careful because it is so powerful, right? It's sort of the balance of the scales. In the car crash that killed the entire Dragomir family, except for Lissa, Rose was also in the car. This is not information that you learn until later in the book series. Rose actually died in that car crash. Lissa brought her back to life, and they are now bonded because of that. So when I talk about the dysfunction in their relationship, I have no real problem with their relationship, how they care about each other and choose to do that. That all seems to be pretty good, except some lack of boundaries on Rose's part. The big issue is the way that they are now bound to each other. The term for this is that Rose is shadow-kissed. She was dead. She was brought back to life by Lissa. She is now bound to Lissa. Rose basically can see and feel what Lissa is doing without being there. Sometimes it'll happen to her when she's not trying to. Other times she'll sort of reach for the bond to try to find it, and she can do it. But she is present with and in Lissa 24/7 because of this bond. They're in each other's dreams, and it is one-sided. Lissa cannot see through Rose's eyes. It's this one-way bond. When Lissa's getting horny with Kristen Ozera, Rose can feel it. We are back on our host bullshit, if you watched the host video, of people feeling romantic feelings that are not meant for them. Huge consent issue. Obviously sucks to be Lissa in this equation because you have somebody that is always there and you don't want them there and you don't really have any privacy. Also super sucks for Rose because she doesn't want to be experiencing these things or being pulled away from that. She'll be talking with somebody and then she sort of gets pulled into Lissa's world because of this bond. That's not fair. Also, Lissa starts using compulsion on basically everyone in the school to get back in their good graces, to become popular again. She is trying to work on her image, not necessarily just because she cares, but because she sort of needs to do it for her family line, for their political alliances. She is trying to gain that social currency. So she's been using compulsion on a lot of people. When you use spirit consistently, you got to pay that darkness tax. The darkness is weighing on Lissa, and then also it gets transferred down to Rose. Lissa is feeling the heaviness of this. She basically just has these random illness symptoms. She's scratching at herself. She's weak. She's having these nightmares. She's being plagued by this darkness, if you will. And it goes through into Rose because Rose is bound by her. They don't know that this is what's going on, but that's what we find out. Worth noting, the main figurehead in this religion, by the way, is Saint Vladimir, always a man. Why is it always a man? Saint Vladimir is the main figurehead in their religion. Turns out he was a shadow user. He also had somebody that was bonded to him that was shadow kissed Anna. So it was Saint Vladimir and shadow kissed Anna. Anna eventually went insane because of the darkness. It is worth noting, spoilers, Rose and Lissa eventually break this bond. You're able to break it by if you are on the brink of death and then come back without the help of the spirit user. Now sort of your life is your own again. That bond is gone. They do end up getting there, so they get this figured out. That's just a consent issue. Just flagging that. And that's not even really the worst of what I want to talk about with these two. The main thing with them is the way that their relationship is treated by others in this world. When they were on the run, Lissa fed from Rose. When vampires feed on humans, the humans end up experiencing almost a high. It's pleasurable. It doesn't hurt you. It's part of why vampires are dangerous. They're able to feed on people, whatever. So it's not really harmful to Rose other than the fact that she needs most of her blood to survive. You learn that the way that things work in this vampire world is they do have these feeder places where the Moroi can go and feed on humans. They make jokes about it being people that were obsessed with Twilight that go missing. They agree to be fed on. I do love that the movie made that a point that it was consensual. All of the humans agree to sign up to be feeders because they want to be a part of this world. And then once their contract is up, their memories are compelled away. They can't tell people about it and they go back to their normal life. So at least that part was consensual. Apparently that's all well and good. But if you feed on people outside of that official capacity, it has a very sexual undertone to it. We got to talk about it. Apparently sex workers in this world will engage in that during sexual encounters with clients who are Moroi. They will let the Moroi feed on them. It heightens things for them. It is something that is common in sex work in this world. So because of that, they have this term called blood whore. This is from the book, not just freestyle and slurs right now. The term blood whore, meaning that you would let a Moroi feed on you during sex because the society has now got it in their minds that it's degrading. Disagree with all of that, frankly. We're going to get more into it. Whatever people consent to, as long as there is consent for everything and everybody who's involved, I don't understand why any of that would be degrading. Villainizing people, specifically women, for being sexual or having sexual encounters is like so tired and so boring. And it's really dumb. Anyway, the sexual dynamics for this world are sort of interesting just in general because basically the entire society revolves around protecting the Moroi and the Moroi being propped up. I'm going to make this super quick. It's just going to be the top level view. Moroi can procreate and make other Moroi. And then in order to get a Dhampir, you need to have at least one Moroi, and then you can have a Moroi and a Dhampir or a Moroi and a human. I don't believe two Dhampir can procreate. And if this is feeling political to you, it's a fictional book. It's a fictional book. I'm talking about a fictional society. It seems to me that the Morois will sort of have arranged marriages between them, and they will have this family structure where the family is a unit. When it comes to the Dhampir, your job is protecting the Moroi. You cannot get distracted. So a Dhampir relationship would be frowned upon. You're not really supposed to be a parent. There is no real family structure there. Even if you have a parent, it's not a normal family upbringing. Dhampir can procreate with Moroi to make more Dhampir, but they are not going to live with the Moroi. They're not going to have a marriage. So the Dhampir basically don't get anything. You guessed it, Rose and Dimitri are going to end up having a relationship. She's 17, he's 24. Listen, I'm going to get there. Don't you worry. We're going to get there. But for right now, the reason that he ends up giving her at the end of the first movie is that he cannot be in a relationship with her because you're 24 and you're her teacher. No, he can't be in a relationship with her because if he was in a relationship with her, he would want to protect her instead of Lissa, and his job is that he needs to protect Lissa. So the inter-Dhampir relationships are frowned upon. So this system is really strict. In terms of people dating each other, it seems like when you're teenagers, Adults make allowances for the idea that things happen. Maybe a Moroi and a Dompier would hook up. Maybe some Moroi would hook up with each other, even though they're not going to end up together. But at the end of the day, then you're going to grow up and you will either enter into a marriage if you're the Moroi to further whatever needs to be furthered on the political agenda. Or if you're Dompier, you will put the Moroi first and you will not engage in these other relationships because you need to stay focused. All of this is relevant because when you look at Rose and Lissa, with Lissa feeding on Rose, the way that I'm watching it is that Rose it's a sacrifice. She's saying, hey, we're friends. I have blood. You need it. Feed on me. I'm trying to keep you alive. Rose also wants to be Lissa's guardian. She's trying to protect her while they're out there in the world. But to everybody else, it was incredibly taboo that a Moroi was feeding on a Dompier. It's not the official feeder. It's not within the normal constraints that you would go to in society. You're feeding on a Dompier and you're engaging in something that is typically seen as a sexual act, even though I don't think that it should be. I feel like I've made myself clear on where I stand on this. Sexuality has been used in a way to punish people, largely women, mostly women, for a very long time. This is simply another example of that. It is worth noting the book itself isn't really doing that. If anything, the book is showing the people that are judging women for their sexuality, those are villains. So if anything, the book is kind of saying, hey, that's bad. I want to be really clear where I'm directing my criticism. This book is very much just mirroring all these things that society already has. My main point with all of this is that throughout the book, Rose and Lissa are being aggressively harassed for having a sexual relationship. They do not have a sexual relationship. Their relationship is sexualized by everyone, but I want to be very clear, they are best friends. The genuine lore is that it is friendship, it is platonic. They do not have sexual or romantic feelings towards each other. It would be fine if they did, but they did it, and yet they're being harassed for this because Rose ended up letting Lissa feed on her. As someone who saw the movie before reading the books, that was kind of crazy to me. I almost feel like it didn't really process for me. I really didn't understand what the big deal was. So then everyone's basically bullying Rose and Lissa. Also, Lissa keeps getting threats. She's being threatened the whole time. People want her to leave the school. They're telling her to go away. They're leaving like dead animals in her dorm room. I mean, it's awful. The whole movie, they're trying to figure out who's doing it. But then just on the social level, with the bullying that she has to endure, the insults that they keep giving her. Mia is mainly the one who's sort of leading this bullying charge. The insults, it's straight up that Mia would see Rose and Lissa and be like, wow, you guys lovers? What's the insult? And what if the two baddies were fucking? What then? It's not even a joke. The concept of the fact that these two women might know each other biblically, that's the insult. Homophobia used to be more intricate. Did it not? I'm anti-homophobia. You don't need me to say that. In the movie, Rose says the line, fat lady feeder breath, referring to one of the feeders. I'm just sort of pointing that out. Add fat shaming to the slut shaming and the queer shaming that happens. We haven't gotten to the slut shaming yet. Coming up. We're going to talk about the slut shaming in a second. To wrap up Rose and Lissa, I really like their relationship. I love female friendships. I loved that they were so dedicated to each other. They loved each other so much. They were really each other's chosen family. I love that very much. Just talking about the dysfunction, the way that their relationship was sexualized is disgusting. Really, really gross. And then finally with the bond, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the definition of trauma bonded in a way that's not healthy. Folie à deux is coming for those two. And then like little stuff, Lissa gets with Christian and Rose basically sabotages it because she doesn't trust Christian, but it is very much like, hey, boundaries. But yeah, I mean, I like their relationship. I'm just kind of pointing out the issues with it. Team Rose and Lissa, okay? I support them. I support women's rights and wrongs. Love me some baddies. We're going to get into Rose and Dimitri now. Dimitri, Dompier instructor, Lissa's official guardian. He's 24, teaching at St. Vladimir's. Rose, 17, student. He is kind of shooting her down and keeping her at arm's length. They do still end up hooking up in the movie. There was a lust amulet involved. Classic scenario. He does hold off, but there is still a physical relationship that happens, and that is one of the main romances for the book, is going to be Rose and Dimitri. So I feel like I can already see the comments right now being like, he waited until it was, but okay, I get it. We're still going to talk about it. In terms of the actors, so 17 and 24, I am not supportive of that age gap. It's not the craziest age gap. You want to talk about some SJM books, 500-year age gap. My main point is that the actual characters are supposed to be 7 years apart. At the time of the film's release, Zoey Deutch was 19. The actor who played Dimitri was 28. 19 and 28. Them on screen together is so all too well 10-minute video. It's so jarring and it's crazy because I remember watching this for the first time when I was a kid. And I was like, yeah. Oh yeah, of course, that's gonna be your boyfriend. We consistently growing up, we're given these love stories. We're supposed to be a girl that was, 15, 16, 17. And if you're pretty and special enough, you can get that 25 to 30-year-old man to fall for you. If you're one of the special ones. Oh, I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but it's important to talk about it. We gotta stop. Stop. One of my really good buddies, this is one of their favorite book series, and I know that they love Rose and Dimitri, and I'm already imagining them watching this, and I'm gonna have to be like, sorry. Listen, we can talk about the issues that we have with this and the larger societal systemic issues that they represent without me stomping all over your ship, okay? I shipped Rose and Dimitri in the TV show. They did seem like they had a really solid relationship. At one point as well, he ridicules her for engaging in 17-year-old silliness. And that one did grind my gears a little bit. Because you want to know who engages in 17-year-old silliness? 17-year-olds. You're 24, bud. You don't have to be pursuing a 17-year-old. What then? What then? I can already see these comments. I am not trying to tell you that something that you have loved for a very long time is like dumb and bad and stupid. I get it. The age gap, the fact that he was a teacher, that was just a staple of the genre at the time. And this can still be your ship and you can still really like them. And also they held off. They didn't immediately go for it from what we've seen in the first movie. The hookup that ended up happening was because of a lust amulet. Rose is given an amulet. It's been cursed by Victor. Victor ends up being the bad guy. Victor's daughter is Natalie. Remember that. We're going to talk about that in a second. It's to distract her from finding Lissa when Victor kidnaps Lissa. Victor is sick and wants Lissa to heal him. They think that he's like kind uncle guy. He's not. He's the villain. He has Natalie give the lust amulet to Rose, who puts it on. And then when she sees Dimitri, she becomes so distracted with lust when she sees the object of her crush that she jumps his bones. He also falls for it. There's something about it where because they have this existing attraction to each other, they end up really going for it. I am going to touch on this. I don't like to be negative. We've talked about stuff like this a lot on this channel. I'll always acknowledge when the chemistry is really strong. Notice that I'm silent on that in this one. That's really the only hookup that they end up having. Rose ends up thinking that he was tricked into it. You know, oh, he didn't even like me, but he was forced into it. And then when she goes to question Victor, after the big whole battle has happened, Victor has been imprisoned. That's one of the things that she asks about where it's like, girl, this conversation is between Rose and Victor, so it's not necessarily failing the Bechdel test, but certainly it's not passing it. She's trying to get the details from him. Was he tricked? Did he actually like me? Was he forced into it? And Victor says that it only works if there are existing feelings there, meaning that Dimitri does have feelings for her, and this was supposed to be one of the big like woohoo moments. Small thing here, but something that I found very funny. There's a training scene with Rose and Dimitri. I know with everything, you know, you read the books, you watch the movie or the TV show, and you go, oh, the book, you know, there was so much more lore in the book. Truly, this to me is one of those series where there's so much with the book. It's almost like the first movie shouldn't have even really counted. They should have automatically been given 2 off the bat. This didn't get a sequel, if that's not clear enough already. Because so much of the first movie is just setting up the world because it is so intricate and they're trying to make us understand this. So just the sheer amount of exposition that they're trying to get across to us, they did a really good job getting the things across. Me fighting for my life to be positive. For the cards that they were dealt, they did a decent job. There was simply too much. An example of this, Rose and Dimitri have a training scene. They're trying to get a lot of information to us at once, and they're also trying to let us know that, oh, maybe Dimitri does look at Rose a certain way, because so far we know that Rose is crushing on him. She describes it to Natalie as crushing on someone that's old enough to be not her father, but an uncle. Crushing on her disturbingly sexy uncle. That's a quote. Now, why would you say that? Why? A writer wrote that. A writer, based on Hollywood demographics and the fact that white men kind of seem to run everything for a hot second there. An older man wrote that line. Unless it was a line from the book and I missed that. Just think about that. Just really, really close your eyes. An older man sat in a room and said, the hot 19-year-old who's playing a 17-year-old, I want her to say that this guy is like a disturbingly sexy uncle and she's into it because the 17-year-olds do want my grown adult male dick. Oh, I just gave myself chills. I'm getting distracted. Stay with me. They are walking back from training. The conversation, I'm paraphrasing, but this is such little hyperbole being used when truly I tell you that the conversation is that Dimitri basically goes, this is back on the fact that there's an insane amount of information that they're trying to give to us. Conversation literally goes, Dimitri goes, my dad hit my mom, I hit my dad. All of this is in a Russian accent, by the way, that I certainly will not be doing in today's economy. So Dimitri's basically saying my dad's abusive. Rose goes, oh, I never knew my dad. The academy basically raised me. My dad must have had great hair because I have great hair. Oh no, I'm gonna have to cut my hair when I become a full vampire, when I graduate. And then Dimitri goes, don't ever cut your hair, and touches a lock of her hair. And the whole thing happens in like 10 seconds. I don't know if you're really understanding what I'm saying. Dimitri, my dad was abusive. Rose, I don't know my dad. I have great hair. Dimitri, I love your hair. But that's like a crazy whiplashing conversation. No follow-up? Sorry about your dad. Are you in counseling? Fighting for a living must be pretty triggering. Just touching on that. Okay, finally, so we talked about Rose and Lissa. We talked about Rose and Dimitri. Lissa and Christian, really, they're fine. They were cute. It's Dom Sherwood. I love Dom Sherwood. I didn't really see anything super problematic here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know. So not much to touch on there. So now we're just going to talk about some sort of overall things closing this out. In terms of the overall plot, the entire movie, Lissa's being threatened. There's the dead animals. There's the threatening messages. And then Mia and her posse is sort of like straight up bullying Lissa. Part of that posse are these two boys named Jesse and Ray. Jesse is another Royal Moroi. He is basically just supposed to be cute douchebag. He asks Rose to hook up with them and is just like, hey, just a fling, whatever. Rose goes for it because he's supposed to be super hot. They're hooking up. He tries to feed on her, which she is not consenting to. And then through that interaction, he's basically able to realize that she has been fed on before. And then they start this rumor to the entire school that Lissa and Rose had a sexual relationship and Lissa was feeding on Rose during sex, calling Rose a blood whore. Gross. This is the slut-shaming issue. Part of this is then that Jesse and Ray tell the entire school that Rose hooked up with both of them and that she let both of them feed on her. This made me so angry, I did write a note for it. I'm going to read my notes. Look at this entirely new, fresh take. These douchebags attempt to diminish a woman by sexualizing her. Get a new shtick, you tired, intolerant bitches. Oh, implying a woman is less valuable for engaging in sexual acts. I will kill your family. I don't have time to break down the myriad. It's not even like one sexist thing. There's so many different layers to it that it's like that being your insult off the bat. Systemic issues, 10 layers deep in that. I am not qualified to go through that with an audience. I want to be really responsible with the way that we discuss things. We do discuss large issues and talk about them. I think that it's important. It turns out the bullying, by the way, the dead animals and stuff, Victor was basically trying to figure out if Lissa was a spirit user. That's my understanding at least. And then the bullying was Mia saying, hey, I want Lissa to leave. I want to go back to being Queen Bee. So there was the Victor threats and then the Mia bullying that wasn't actually supposed to be physical. There's a message that was written in blood on Lissa's wall. This was Mia, Jesse, and Ray because it turns out what was happening is that Mia, Jesse, and Ray were all hooking up and they were engaging in what's called blood splashing, which is when you're all hooking up and you're in the moment, then you open up your veins and let the blood spray. So they're not feeding off of each other, but it's still sort of blood play in this sexual setting. And it's also a reminder that I feel like when sex workers do it, it's trashy and degrading. When these more looked over classes do it. But then when the important classes do it, it's chic and so trendy and it's blood splashing and it's actually very cool and everyone's doing it. One of Mia's insults was saying that Rose took two guys at once, which again, not an insult, but she's doing it and she clearly has judgment about it. There's nothing wrong with whatever sexual acts you want to participate in. So either she's just using it to take Rose down and she doesn't actually have any judgment about it, or she does have judgment about it. And she's probably judging herself and also hates herself on some, I mean, she definitely hates herself because of the way that she's acting, but whatever, clock it. Couple quick notes now, just in general. Natalie was sort of pretending to be their friend this whole time. Turns out that she's working with Victor. She also is a Strigoi at the end of the movie, but she seems coherent and with it. She doesn't seem crazed. So just file that away for the lore if we ever talk about more of these. But we're supposed to think that she's a good character and that she ends up being a villain. That was so obvious to me because during the movie, Jesse and Ray have started these rumors now. They're trying to destroy Rose's reputation. They've started disgusting rumors about her, not because the rumors are disgusting, but because the intent behind it, they're attempting to degrade and diminish her. And it's a plot point that Natalie is still crushing on Ray super hard. The way that I would not be friends with that girl if I was Rose. That's crazy behavior. Imagine you're Rose and your friend is going to sit there and go, oh, you're so cool that like Ray totally talked to you the other day. Girl, stand up. When she's Strigoi, part of becoming a Strigoi is that you kill a Moroi. Ray's the one that she kills, and she says that killing him, another direct quote, killing him was a lot more fun than losing my virginity to him would have been. I'm not saying anything. Lastly, since we're not really doing survival tips on this one, we're just going to talk about which group would you want to be a part of. Obviously, Moroi. Dom Pierce sounds like not a fun time. Strigoi, definitely not a fun time. Human, boring. I'm going to be Moroi, and I'm also going to be Royal Moroi because I just feel like princess is it's very me. That's very much what I give. Okay, let me know what you would choose to be. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for watching this. I'm going to give you some housekeeping stuff at the end now. Please go follow me on Instagram. That is going to be Gracie Talks About Things on Instagram as well. This is not just me begging you for followers. The point is that I want to start doing polls so that you guys can vote on what you want to see. So please go follow me over there. If I can get enough people to congregate there, then we can use that as a forum to connect on that. Secondly, you'll have probably noticed this. I'm doing a video every other week. That is the current pace that we're on. As previously stated, I got a 9 to 5. So we're doing the best that we can. There are triggering things in this video. As always, resources and charity links below. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.